Hello and welcome to For Future Generations episode 59. I'm guessing from the hand signs that I'm seeing over from my co-host that he's not hearing a thing.
I just didn't hear. I didn't hear the intro, so I'm like, "Are you playing it?" I don't know. I didn't want to talk over it.
You guys heard it, but it is episode 59, and we are glad to have you. We're going to have a good old time. We're going to talk about some weird nonsense. We're going to talk about Christian burial and cremation, and where did it come from, and what brought about, cremation. How did that get so popular here in the United States? But we're also going to talk about some Deus Volt lapel pins. Our buddy over there at DVLP has been getting in some trouble. But before we do that, I'm Jifwa. I'm doing well. I hope y'all are well. And I'm joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Sean. Sean, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. Talked about the road to Emmaus, which is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. So that was cool. That at church today, not just in general. That was a sermon. That was the text that we were reading from at church today. So that's always a cool. For those unfamiliar, that is Jesus after the resurrection, but before the ascension. He's walking with these two guys, but he doesn't tell them that he's Jesus. And they're basically telling him the story of Jesus. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a cool story." And then he kind of adds to the story, and then at the end.
Have you noticed in the Old Testament how these things were prophesied?
Yeah. And then the guys at the end were like, "Whoa, we were talking to Jesus the whole time."
Yeah. Blow their minds. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in church right now, we're marching through the book of Revelation, the revelation of John. I almost said Revelations, but it's the revelation of John. And we're in chapter 6, I want to say. So we're in the scroll judgments, and my pastors have recently become convinced of a partial preterist view. And once you look at the book of Revelation and you're like, wait a minute, this is just prophesying the fall of Jerusalem. A lot of it. That's not to say it's not, going to be fully fulfilled at a later date. And then you read people like Josephus and, Vespasian and the people who were there doing it. And you cross-reference that with what was prophesied in the book of Revelation. It's like, well, you know what? This makes a lot more sense than, John Hagee, black helicopters, and nuclear winter.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
Yep.
But, we're having a grand old time. So, with that said, let's get into it. But before we get into it, actually, now is the time for a word from our sponsors. And our sponsors are Deus Volt lapel pins. If you are trying to get a hold of Deus Volt lapel pins, press 1. Deus Volt lapel pins is on vacation, and you cannot order from him. Well, you can't order from him, but if you do so, there will be a slight delay. It's not going to be a crazy delay. He's not taking a sabbatical. Okay, it's just a small family vacation. He will be back. And he will return your call shortly. But if you want to use our discount code, the link is in the description. Use code FFGDV26 or click the link in the description, and that will naturally propagate, and it will follow you all the way to the checkout for 10% off your order from Deus Volt lapel pins. Deus Volt lapel pins, of course, this is the big banner on his website. We are on family vacation. He'll be back May the 4th, and he'll respond to messages and orders and stuff. Folks, it is still sold out. All right, see this little button over here? Notify me when available. Click that button. Get over here, guys. PAX 250 America anniversary pin. It's awesome. It's beautiful, and I don't have it. Come over here. Click the button.
I've told
people know. All right.
I've told him he's messing up, man. He needs to get. He did the White Boy Summer pin, and it sold out. And I'm like, I didn't even hear about it before it sold out.
You got to follow on Twitter, guys. Follow him on Twitter because that's where he announces the drops. And it lasted for 2 whole days. Some drops only last 1 day. Some of them get bought up in an hour. But look here. He says, once any sold out pin gets 50 plus on notify me list, we will do another run. Guys, I need your help. Get over here. Click the notify me when available. Put in your phone number, put in your email so that you can get this pin back because I need one. Okay. I need it. Okay. Forget everything else. I need this pin. But yes, actually, also the White Boy Summer 1183. I got one of these. And guys, I wanted to buy 5, but I only got one because I knew everybody needed to get one. I got one, added it to cart, and I got it, and it's in the mail. It has not yet arrived. But guys, I am stoked.
And it caused
for White Boy Summer.
Yeah, it caused a serious stir.
It did. Yeah. And some people really freaked out. But click this button, notify me when available. Let him know when he gets back from vacation. Okay, we got all the time in the world. May 4th. What is that? 2 weeks from now? We've got time. All right, we've got time to load this up. So when he comes back and opens his email inbox, it's just going to say, get those pins. We're ready. We want the White Boy Summer pins. We want the America 250 pins. We got to have them. Come on. We need another run. Let's go. But in the meantime, folks, do not worry. Do not fret. The standard availability, the Lone Bulwark, Old Classic, it's available. The American pins, the custom in Appeal to Heaven. This one here, I wore this one today. Native Americans, beware of foreign influence. It's a great nod to our history and our heritage and our skepticism of foreign influence. So get yourself some heritage pins. Get yourself some Deus Volt lapel pins. Use the code FFGDV26 for 10% off your order. And with that said, let's get back into the show. I'm having a little too much fun here. But we're not done with Deus Volt lapel pins, guys. We're not quite done with Deus Volt lapel pins. We mentioned it in passing in last week's show. Just a little bit, just a tease. We just mentioned something. And that something is that if you look on his website, I mean, if you look, there is a section for denominational pins, and there's one missing. And that is the PCA cross. He used to have the PCA cross available on his website, and now he does not. Does anybody know what's going on? Do we know why that might be? Well, I've got bad news for you. And the bad news is on April 6th at 9:26 a.m., Deus Volt lapel pins received an email from Per Almquist. And it says, I am writing you on behalf of the administrative committee of the PCA. And then the body of the text is not shown. But Deus Volt lapel pins fills us in. He says, speaking of infamous Presbyterians, did I just become one? The biggest threat to the PCA this morning is evidently the infiltration of unofficial PCA lapel pins into the ranks, and not the embracing of female ordination among its churches. Who would have thought? Per request from the administrative committee, we have removed the PCA pin from our store this morning. To my many solid brothers remaining in the PCA, God be with you. And yes, God be with you. You're going to have to do it without a PCA pin. But he gives us an update. He says, great news. I just heard back with the fast track approval of the version 2.0 of the pin that will be available to anyone with serious concerns tomorrow. And there you go. There you go. Got flowers. It's all pink for you. But yeah, it's a real shame. Squatch, he's got a picture of his PCA pin. This, folks, is what you're missing out on. You are missing out on the Mandalorian helmet, guys.
Yeah.
But I am not in the PCA. I did not buy this. And it kind of went under the radar. But here we go. Lapel pin license. License number 1646, pin enthusiast, class collector. This is that's what we needed. Barrett Press coming in clutch. Good guys are there. Good guys. Good memers. They produce good stuff. By the way, Barrett Press, link in the description. They sell books. And I know you Presbyterians, you're weird guys. You like books. And get some books from Barrett Press. But yeah, so that pin got pulled. And he has a little fun. And, he posts this. He says, "Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you, Dale Earnhardt, and the PCA for making a retard's dream come true today and making it onto X's Today's News feature. Bad news for all the haters and women of both sexes. We've just begun to base." And here's a little screen cap. Today's News. Presbyterian Church in America issues cease and desist to Days Volt lapel pins. And that was trending on the 6th of April, so a couple of days ago. And there are whispers. There are whispers that there might be something, some kind of plan, some kind of collaboration. If I were the PCA, what I'd be trying to do right now is I'd be saying, like, look, just charge $1 more or $2 more. Kick that over to us. That'll be our cut. And, that'll protect our copyright, because copyright is something you do have to protect, or else it just kind of goes haywire. So they've got a copyright on that image and they've got to protect it. Because if they don't, if they just kind of give him a wink and a nod and they're like, hey, that's okay. Well, next thing you know, some homosexual rights group might start using that as their symbol. And now you can't enforce it because you didn't enforce it over there. It gets messy. So it is possible, though unlikely, it is possible that this is not being done out of malice. So anyhow, this is kind of the final stroke on here. Days Volt lapel pins posted this. He says, "GM, for the record, I know I've been having a little fun trolling the Concerned Bros on here, but their retardation aside, I actually and earnestly do want the PCA to prosper. I want them to rid their churches, seminaries, and denominational institutions of the curse of feminism. I want them to stop attempting to pressure their pastors into remaining silent or covert on the topics of Christian nationalism. I want them to behave, look, and lead like the Presbyterian forefathers they claim to follow, instead of soy boys, men, women, and self-important boomers." And he goes on to say some kind words. And then he posts this image, which is, "My body is a machine that turns the tears of the PCA into selling even more based pins." And yeah, that, folks, that's what it's about right there. Dabney looking on in approval, got his PCA pin there. So very, very cool. But I'm not a Presbyterian and I'm not in the PCA. But we're going to change gears because something happened this week. That's very odd. And the evidence for it has disappeared off the internet because the dude deleted his account.
Huh.
So
he got embarrassed.
he got absolutely hosed. And I'm going to share a screen, and I actually have to do it from a different browser, just because he has blocked me on Facebook. On this channel, if you're watching this on Facebook, he has blocked me there for who knows what reason. I mean, I helped him out, and I shared his stuff early on when we first met, and it did not take long for him to suddenly start screaming at me for something, who knows what. I mean, this guy gets bent around the axle really easily. And if you're hearing my description, I mean, he's a skinny little twerp who gets bent around the axle very easily. You probably already know who I'm talking about. And the person I am talking about is Brantley McDonald.
Yeah.
The size 5 shoes, size 28 jacket, Brantley McDonald. Skinny little twink who likes to go around and harass people. And, I mean, if you're being charitable, you could assume that a lot of it's coming out of a good heart. You know, maybe he's just really, really passionate about the things he believes. But then you see some of the absolutely retarded things he says. And another thing is, you know a man by the company he keeps. He seems to make friends with the worst kind of people as well. And it's really bizarre how he can make an enemy out of anybody. But he seems to be able to make a friend out of people that he really should be completely opposed to as well. As long as you hate the same people he hates, he seems to be perfectly happy to call you a friend. But anyway, so all that to say, he is. Here's his little. This is his war face. He's making his war face here, but not a guy to be taken seriously, folks. Not a guy to be taken seriously. So we'll leave that there, and instead, I'm going to pop back over to Twitter. Or before I do, actually, let's show one thing. This is John Moody's post from November of last year. He says, "Friends, why do so many of you still like and follow Brantley McDonald and similar divisive men's pages, groups, profiles, etc.? You are the air they breathe and the bandwidth they need to do." Oh, shoot. And I just... I exited out. Here we go. "You are the air they breathe, the bandwidth they need to do the nonsense they do. So you can help stop such slander and drama by simply unliking, unfollowing, reporting, and blocking." And here's a link to the page. And, it looks like... Man, let me get rid of this. Go away. Maybe if I reload the page, it'll go away. There we go. 1689 Reformed Baptist. Now, that's his claim to fame. All right. He created a page called 1689 Reformed Baptist, launched a website, 1689.com. If you go to that website, this is not a highfalutin website. This is not a lot of work. This guy threw this together in like an afternoon.
Yeah.
Right. Download a PDF version, Baptist Catechism, Orthodox Catechism, Early Church Creed, Scripture Reading Calendar, a foreword, and then this is just, the chapters of the book, and you can just, pop open a chapter and start reading. This is a great resource, but it's not exactly groundbreaking or earth-shattering. But with that said, first to it, more power to him. And I wish this thing would stop giving me these pop-up notifications.
Well, he's definitely not the first person to have a readable 1689 breakdown
on the website. Yeah, I've got the 1689 London Baptist Confession on two different. You know how you can have these Bible apps and book apps that you can use, and one of them is Olivet, I think, or Olive Tree. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but on my phone it's called Bible Study, which is not at all confusing. Thank you, guys. Yeah. And then I've got it on Logos as well, and I believe it was free on Logos or Logos, depending on how you want to pronounce that. But
it's only Logos is correct,
right? And but he's not the first guy to do this. But he built a website for people. He's also got another website for if you're trying to find a 1689 church near you. Problem with that website is a lot of the 1689 churches near you aren't on it because he's got a personal beef with them for who knows what reason.
Yep.
So functionally, the website's not super usable. But anyway, he is a divisive little guy. Like I was telling Sean earlier before he started the show, for a while, I don't know if he still does this because he's had me blocked for a while. His shtick was that he would go protest on Sunday mornings instead of going to church. He would go protest outside of a local megachurch and tell people that they were going to hell because their church wasn't a real church. And that's not to say the church didn't have problems, but when you're telling, 500 people going into a church that every single one of them is going to hell because their church isn't a real church, that's not, first off, that's not realistic. Second off, that's not correct.
Yeah.
All right. You don't know who's going to hell and who's going to heaven. All right. That is not part of your job description. You don't make those calls. You're not able to make that decision. and God doesn't read you their hearts. But anyway, all of this to say, all of this very long introduction, because this goose, this absolute numbskull, tried to do the exact same thing the PCA did. The PCA, you remember, they sent an email to Dave's Volt lapel pins and said, please stop this, and they did. Well, he tried to file a takedown on these guys because this 1689, I mean, does that look familiar? It's a 1689 pin. And Dave's Volt lapel pins also has a 1689 pin. And so he files this takedown. You're going to have to remove this guy. You can't be selling the 1689 pin. And I would show you my 1689 pins because I bought a couple. But unfortunately, these 1689 pins that I bought, I gave them to my pastors because I am a Baptist, and my pastors, we hold to the 1689 confession. So I don't have any on me right now. But yeah, he filed this takedown because you're using my woodcut, and it looks very similar, but it's not the same. Using my woodcut of 1689. You can't have a wood cutting. You can't use the same font as me and the numbers 1689 because I've got patent pending on that.
Yeah.
Just a small problem. First off, you did not invent 1689. You did not come up with 1689. This predates you by
300 years.
340 years. Yeah, you didn't come up with this, genius. And it gets even funnier. Lewis Henley, friend of the show, give him a follow. Yep. He says, this makes the trademark kerfuffle even funnier. Brantley didn't file for a trademark until after he threatened the Eamon author. Look at that. The 17th. What's that? 2 days ago. So he files this takedown. He's like, you're going to take this down because I've got patent pending on that. Turns out, no. He didn't do that. And people in the comments calling him gay, which is earned. And he blocked a bunch of people. But, here's him talking about, quick poll. Should Christians recognize that branding and logos are protected by registration or common law, refrain from stealing from those who use them for unauthorized adaptation? This post is from an account that no longer exists. And guys, when I say it no longer exists, you remember how I had to go to Facebook to show you his Facebook profile because he blocked me on Facebook? I went to a different browser to use an alt and to see that. Well, I did that to see his Twitter. His Twitter is well and truly gone, guys. Brantley Writer, this account doesn't exist. Not you're blocked, not he's got you blocked. This account does not exist. Braley Writer McDonald, he is gone. He is gone off of Twitter, and I say good riddance. And hopefully that means that...
what is the name? What is the @?
So on Twitter, his @ is Brantley Writer. BRANTLEYRIDER. And he's gone now. So, yeah. Yeah, but his name is Brantley Writer McDonald. He is not on Twitter anymore, and good riddance. Good riddance. And this is my feeling on the whole matter. Deus Volt Lapel Pin says, the base takeover of lapels in the name of Christ will continue until morale improves in every square inch of our homeland. Sincerely, your retarded neighborhood pin guy. Can't stop, won't stop. Deus Volt. And he's got the scene from Parks and Recreation. Not to worry, I have a permit. This just says I can do what I want.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. That is how we are going to. That is how we are going to proceed. We are going to do our best to provide lapel pins, folks. If
also,
you are
what
wanting
needs to
lapel
be,
pins,
what else needs to be pointed out is that his like logo that he has, like the woodcut as you called it. It's a font that it's a common font that where he just typed out 1689. Like he didn't design that font.
He did not draw this with pen and pencil.
Yeah,
he typed it out.
Somebody posted today where it was like, here's like 4 different fonts that look just like this. And you can't copyright somebody else's font.
Right.
Just because you took their font and put these numbers together, that is not a copyright claim make. So it's just the whole thing. I mean,
the PCA is a logo. All right, this makes more sense, right?
That.
It's a logo, it's a shield, it's a cross, it's a sunrise thing. It looks a lot like Boba Fett, but it's not Boba Fett. We all kind of see what's going on. There's a Bible underneath, right? Very well done, very pretty, but it's a logo. They designed it to represent themselves. Braylon McDougall did not invent anything. All right, he created a website where you could read a document that is several hundred years old.
That he didn't write. Yeah.
That he did not write. He did not compile. He did not even write a commentary for.
Right.
He created a website where you could do this. And then he created a website where you could find churches close to you that use this book. And then he's decided that he's going to file DMCA takedowns and he's going to copyright clause you. This is nonsense. This is gay retarded faggotry. And it needs to stop. He did not do this like the PCA did. The PCA followed the Romans, what Paul laid out for us, right? What is that? Romans 18, right? Something like that. Where, settle with your brother in the way. They sent an email to Deus Volt Lapel Pin and said, hey, man, please stop. This is our logo. We need you to stop for legal reasons. Brantley, before he deleted all of his Twitter, made it very clear that he was doing this because he hates Christian nationalists. And he said as much in so many words. Christian nationalists need to be stopped. You're a bunch of bad people. You're stealing from me. We're not stealing anything from Bailey Dogface. All right. This is not happening. Okay. There's nothing being stolen from you. You don't own anything to steal. We're not coming for your used Camry and your partial child support. All right. You've got nothing. And we don't want what you do have.
Does he get child support? Because you said he's.
I don't know. He's. I don't want to get too personal into stuff, but his family situation's not great. And I don't want to get into personal stuff, but he is an annoying little twink. And
but you know what? I will say this though: don't come swinging.
If you can't take it.
Yeah, like don't come all like, oh, I'm going to throw the book at you and then have such a wide open target on your back. Like you know what's going on with you. Like don't go attack Christian nationalists are these wicked people and then you're just playing the divorced single father thing. Like don't come at me, bro. Like I play for keeps, okay? Don't come swinging at my friends and then think that I'm not gonna call you a twink and all that good stuff. So yeah, I don't play that game, dude.
I mean, he and if you scroll through his Twitter or on the 1689 page, which this is or is it the Facebook? Let's see. Let's click on the Facebook. Let's check on what's going on his 1689 Facebook page. But this is a Facebook page. And let's see. Am I seeing this wrong? Oh, here we go. Let's see his posts. December 31st of last year. December 30th of last year, December 30th, December 29th, December 25th. All right, if we keep scrolling down, December 19th. Okay, this guy has not been active on this page for a long time. And if you scroll down, I mean, there's big gaps where all of a sudden he just doesn't utilize this page anymore. Same with his Twitter page for 1689 Reformed Baptist. If you scroll down this page, his last post was June 5th of 25. Or that's his pinned post. His last post was November 30th of 25. He's more active on Facebook because he's a boomer at heart. But, I mean, this dude's not even really active. I mean, what is he trying to protect with this copyright?
And he's using
not selling anything.
It's funny, he's using Baskerville for the font to make it look like old. And I know that because I print my novels in Baskerville because I think it looks cool.
Yeah. Hey,
he's not using fonts that are original is my point. He's trying to copyright things that aren't his to copyright. I understand like that's a unique look, but like Baskerville is one of the most common novel.
Yeah. I mean,
fonts.
And I'm a bit of a font. Oh, that's cool. That's in Hindi. Well, Nepalese, but it's the same difference. You can tell the difference between Hindi and Nepalese because of the way that the letters interact with the line. But anyway, unrelated. He didn't write those books either, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is not a guy who is super active. It's not a guy who is inventing anything or creating anything. He is using pre-existing fonts. He is using a very standard website. I mean, and then he's mostly quoting Charles Spurgeon, which good on you. I like Charles Spurgeon, but who's going to file the DMCA on this? Because he's using a picture of Charles Spurgeon. Yeah. He didn't draw that picture. That's not his picture. Somebody needs to copyright this guy. Or this right here. I mean, that's AI. But here's a quick admin reveal. My guy, you are not Charles Spurgeon.
Yeah, I know.
You're not David.
Funny. Yeah, it's funny because like people will get on Lutherans for like, oh, you guys don't have any other theologians besides Luther, but like most Reformed Baptists will just talk about Spurgeon. Yeah. Like that's it. Like that's their one guy.
Mm-hmm. And I like Spurgeon, but I do think it can be overblown. But the main reason I like Spurgeon is just because he was a whiskey and cigar guy, and so I've got my excuses, folks. When you see these bottles up here, and you see this little, when you see my cigars over here, it's like I have good prominence for this. I'm just
Spurgeon gave me the chemical dependency. I didn't do it.
Exactly. I'm well within my rights to do this. But anyhow, with all that being said, guys, buy lapel pins, but also be praying for Dave's Volt lapel pins. He's just a working man. He's just a normal dude trying to make a living. And oh no, in the comments I'm getting savaged because I'm a retarded American.
Yeah,
he's
not
right.
The first,
he's right.
Not the first person.
But
why don't you go ahead and show what it is that you messed up?
Yeah, so we'll
here,
pop over here.
Here we go.
Liu Yi says the word is spelled copyright, not copyright, because you're right. It has to do with the rights to the copy, not the writing of the copy.
That's how it's spelled in the South, actually. That's
Oh
no, I'm just kidding.
Is there a legitimacy to this that I'm missing? Fantastic. I'm gonna ride that out. But no, you're right. I'm gonna change the name of this right now. WRIT right now. I'm gonna change the name of this, and hopefully that will go out on the waves. And if you refresh the page, guys, you should see the name change now. But sorry about that. I am a dumb American. My apologies. Well, it looks like that's actually all the comments that we've got for now.
Yeah, that was it.
So yeah. Oh no, in the group chat, Sam Johnson is he's savaging me.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, I'm gonna catch it from every direction. I'm gonna catch it. Oh well. it is what it is. But we also have another topic for tonight, and folks, I try to have fun with the thumbnails, so when I wrote it out, I put a little copyright mark on the word cremation, and is Christian burial a copyright infringement? That's obviously tongue in cheek, but we are going to talk cremation, and this was spurred on by a post by our good friend, the Jolly Brawler, friend of the show, been on the show. And I'm going to go ahead and just share a tweet of his, and then we'll talk about it, Sean and I, just back and forth a little bit. But this is what he posted. He says, 12 points about cremation. There's enough evidence in the Bible, church history, and God's creation to be rightfully dogmatic about this. The case can only be made one way and is not in favor of cremation. And he's talking about a positive case, right? You cannot make a positive case for cremation from the Bible, but you can for burial. 2, burial is the Christian position. We have an entire sacrament centered on the picture of burial and the hope of a resurrection. Sean, what is that sacrament?
That would be baptism.
Baptism, right? I mean, if you've been to a Baptist church, you've probably heard somebody say, well, what is the exact phraseology that they use? But buried
with him in baptism, risen to
buried with him in baptism, raised unto new life in him. Something along those lines. It's a paraphrase of Paul.
No, it's exactly what Paul says. We are buried with him in baptism and risen to walk in newness of life.
Right, but the Baptist preachers, they're not necessarily quoting it exactly. Is the point I was?
My Baptist preacher quoted it exactly when I was baptized.
See, it's not my it's not my pastor that's my pastor's great. Your pastor sucks.
Yeah.
But we're quoting the New Testament when we talk about that burial is a picture, or a baptism is a picture of burial, that you are dead to yourself, that your sins and trespasses died. Christ paid for those, and then you were raised to newness of life, right? And then point number 3, God's people have always buried their dead. The destruction of the body was only practiced by heathens and by God's people against heathen nations when they were being punished. Number 4, nothing has changed in the last 6,000 years that has turned the burning of human bodies from a curse, a punishment, and a practice of heathens into an acceptable practice for Christians to perform in the sight of God and for their loved ones. And that's a key point right there, is God is not a man that he has changed his mind, right? We serve a God who is yesterday, today, and forever the same. So if Christians were always burying, what changed that made cremation okay? Number 5, the idea that we are free to do whatever we want with the body because the soul no longer inhabits it is Gnostic, pagan, and utterly ridiculous. We are not merely a soul. We are a soul and a body. The great Christian hope is the resurrection and glorification of this body. Our practices should reflect that hope. So, Sean, he's talking about Gnosticism. What is Gnosticism?
Gnosticism was a heretical sect that believed they had secret knowledge. So they're based on the Greek word gnosis.
Gnosis. Mm-hmm.
They had all kinds of crazy beliefs, but they denied the goodness of the physical was a big thing with them. So they would say that like Jesus only appeared to have a physical body because everything that is physical is bad in Gnosticism. So
and it kind of derives. I mean, this is a subset of Gnosticism called Docetism.
Yep.
Docetism is a subset of Gnostic beliefs based upon the belief that matter in itself is evil, that Christ himself could not have had a real body. His physical body, they claimed, was merely an illusion, and he never truly died on the cross. And the reason they came up with this theory is because you can't have physical things going to heaven, right? Gnostics don't believe that your physical body is going to be raised. it's just your soul, right? And this is permeated American culture. If you talk to people, they're like, oh, well, you can do whatever you want with my body, throw it on the highway, I don't care, because after I die, I'm not in there, I'm going to heaven. And their theory is, my soul is going to heaven, my body doesn't matter anymore. And that's a Gnostic belief. That's not what Christians believe, right? We were talking before we went live. There's a Lutheran prayer, and I heard it when I was visiting a Lutheran church. And Ethan, when he and I were talking, he mentioned it as well, that there's a prayer, a confession that has a sentence towards the end where it says, and I believe, it's a prayer, I believe, so it's addressed to God. I believe that you will raise me up in the body I now inhabit to live eternal life with you. And I'm paraphrasing there because I don't remember the exact words. I've only heard it once. But Christians have always believed that our physical body is going to be raised at the last day, at the final judgment, the end of the world. Our physical body, God will collect the matter from however far it's been scattered. But the reason we're burying our body is as a sign of that faith, that we believe it's going to be raised at the last day. We know intellectually, right? We know that God can bring out, God can raise up from these stones children of Abraham. God can collect the dust, the atoms that were your body, and bring it back together. But that doesn't mean that we should be making it harder for him, right? We're not trying to make this hard on God. Not that we could. But we're doing this as a sign of our faith that, hey, I believe this body is going to be raised. So even though I'm dead, even though my soul is no longer in this body, I am going to care for this body as a thing to be honored, as a vessel that God is going to bring back. This is not something to disrespect. Christians have always respected graveyards because even though we know that the person is not awake in there, he can't hear you, right? Even though we know these things, nonetheless, we have faith that body, as a thing God created, that he cares about, he's going to bring it back. And for us to disrespect it is for us to disrespect him by extension. Thoughts on that, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about graveyards. I know that veteran, like national cemeteries, they always face them east,
right,
in anticipation of the second coming of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is just the, and if you do most of them that way, you kind of have to do all of them that way. You're not just going to have like
right.
the one guy going like perpendicular to another guy. So there's a guy I follow on YouTube. I think his channel is called They Face East or something like that. And he's just got a lot of good things about how to clean
gravestones,
how to clean gravestones. And yeah, he does a lot of veteran gravestones. He'll like flag them and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there is
update on that. I bought some D2 to go do a gravestone of an ancestor of mine, and it shipped and it never arrived. And then Amazon was like, actually, we can't ship this to you. So I don't know if there's some sort of chemical rule that they didn't realize they were breaking or something. I don't know what happened, but I cannot reorder it from Amazon. So I'm going to have to, talk to Ace or Tractor Supply. I'm going to figure out how I can get this because that's a little wild. But they face east for a reason because, the sun rises in the east and Christ is going to return in the east, right? The Bible does say that. And that's done intentionally, right? So point number 6, carrying on, to join with that, there's no limiting principle when you bite off on cremation. I've asked multiple cremation advocates if it would also be okay to simply chop up the body and throw it away. The ones who did answered in the affirmative. Why? Because it is the natural conclusion from their theology.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you threw a dead body to dogs and just let them eat it, these people be like, I don't care. Physical doesn't matter. It's just all about the soul. And that's not true. That's not reality. The Bible is very clear about the body, that the body will be raised on the last day.
One of these days, I need to play the. One of these days, I did a for Christmas, like last year, 2 years ago, something like that. I made like mix CDs for both my aunt and my dad, and they were different. So I did like a radio DJ type thing in between each track. Like I would introduce each track, and
that's cool.
Then I did like commercials, but they were like clearly joke commercials, and one of them was about this a guy who what am I trying? Oh, he's a butcher, so he owns like butcheries or whatever you call them. And the new thing they were offering is that they will butcher your family pet when they die, and then it'll like come in like a package with like 2 cutlets from your pet so that you can have them with you forever. Like it was a whole thing, and I did it like really sincerely,
really somber.
Yeah, I'll have to play that here sometime. I don't know where I have that on my computer. I thought I did a good job on it.
Yeah, but I mean, if people wouldn't do that to their pets, but they're willing to do it to their own bodies, how does that make sense? It doesn't, right? It's not appropriate. Something is out of sync. Something is not right here, right? He continues on, number 7, this is not an argument about whether God is able to resurrect an incinerated body. Of course he is. This is an argument about the proper Christian way to treat the creation of God, which bears his image, that he has redeemed and he promises to raise again in the future. And that right there really sums up the entire argument, right? The proper Christian way to treat the creation of God that bears his image, that he has redeemed and promises to raise at the last day. All right. If we understand that God created us in his image, he has redeemed our bodies and our souls, right? It was not just Jesus's soul that suffered on the cross. It was his body as well. His body was broken for you. His blood was shed for you. Physical and spiritual, both, not one or the other. Yeah. And he promises to raise again at the last day, right? Your body will be raised just like Christ was raised. He's the firstborn among many brethren, right? We will be raised in like manner as he was.
Yeah.
Number 8, yes, the body will decay in the ground. This is not an argument about preserving the body for as long as we can. This is an argument about how Christians should view death. Yep. 9, quoting ashes to ashes, dust to dust is a bit ironic since that verse is explicitly talking about burials. 10, for those of you who would like a simple
hold on. Because I corrected him on this number 9 one. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust comes from the Book of Common Prayer. It does not come from the Bible. I had to look that up because I was like, I know that's not in the Bible.
It is correct, but it is still referencing. I mean, it is. Yeah. It is not in the Bible, but it is in our Christian tradition. And it is a sort of, what do you call it when you dismiss with a blessing? It's almost sort of like a convocation of sorts for the dearly departed. You know, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, rest in peace. All of those things come from English common tradition around burials, not cremations. Yeah. And we'll get into some of the history of that. Number 10, for those of you who would like a simple verse denouncing cremation, I do think that argument can be made. However, A, you don't need a verse to tell you not to destroy human bodies. B, simply think about it. Christ was buried. Our sacrament is a picture of burial. All of the biblical language is about burial and hopeful expectation. All of the texts about burning bodies are mentioned negatively. Put together, you have your case.
Now, let me say this. Let me play some devil's advocate for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Christ was not buried 6 feet in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Christ wasn't even really buried by the way that we commonly think of burying today.
Mm-hmm.
Christ was put like on a shelf essentially. Like, it kind of, the cave, it was like a cave, really. It's like a cave. You go in, there's a shelf there. You put the body on the shelf, and then you put a stone in front of it, and that was it. Like, it wasn't like put Jesus in a hole and then throw dirt on top of his body. So I think that there's
another thing that they would do is they would put you on that shelf and they'd let you rot down to just the bones, and then they'd pick your bones up and put them in a box and put the box on a different shelf. And this was practiced all over the Middle East for a very long time, up until very recently, and some places still do. But they would have boxes with bones in them in the grave, in the family grave, which was a cave. So you'd walk in and there'd be a shelf with big stone jars, right? Big cube stone jars that have names on them, and these would be the names of the bones that are in the jar. And they would continue to decompose in the jar. Right? I mean, bones don't last forever. They last a lot longer than everything else about you. Your teeth last the longest. Teeth last almost forever.
I believe fossils that we have now of old bones are like calcium replacing the bones or something like that. Like, it's not actually the bone material that's left. It's like what naturally.
Yeah, there's some chemical reaction stuff that goes on. It depends on how they're preserved, right? But I
think Jeff's having some technical difficulties.
He's got something sounded like it fell down, and some kids started talking, which they're not supposed to be doing. They're not supposed to be knocking stuff over or talking. But anyhow, they would take the bones, put them on the shelf, and then that shelf where they laid the body, they'd put the next person there. And they'd let that person rot down for a couple of years before picking up their bones and putting them in a jar and putting them on the shelf. So that was what was intended for Jesus. When they didn't realize that he was going to come back, they put him on that slab there to rot away. And they're planning on putting his bones into a jar when it rotted away, and they were going to fondly remember him for the rest of their lives, right? But that didn't happen. That didn't happen because he was raised, of course, on the third day, as we just celebrated with Easter, right? But we also have examples of that in Scripture, where it's not necessarily laid out explicitly that this is what's going on, but references are made. And we will get to that here in a little bit. But, you were saying that you were going to play devil's advocate, and I want to know exactly how the little stipulation you made. What is the devil's advocate that you intended?
Oh, because I was saying that Christ was not, like, if the point of it is to imitate the way that Christ was buried, we don't do anything close to that today. Mm-hmm. In fact, if I really wanted to play devil's advocate, I would say what you just described sounds a lot more like the cremation process, because that's basically what you end up with in the cremation process. Yeah, all that's left is the bones, right? Because you're not, you incinerate everything else.
And that is another point about cremation people don't know, is you cannot burn a body all the way down.
Yeah.
When you get that jar from the crematorium and your loved one's ashes are in the jar, that's not ashes. Okay, the ashes were pretty much burned away because they're burning it so hot. Ashes is unburned material, right? They're burning it so hot, there's not really anything left except for bones. And then they grind the bones into a powder.
Yeah.
So what you have is a jar of bone powder.
Right.
Not ashes.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, you have, now I'm not trying to advocate for this, but I mean, I want you to think about what you're saying, because you're saying that they wait for the bones to be the only thing left, and then they put them in a box, on a shelf, right? Isn't that what cremation is you're getting it down to the bones really quick, right? Because apparently you could do 6 million of these with only 4 ovens in a matter of like 4 years when you're fighting a 2-front war. So you could like really burn them down, right?
It's like, really easy. It's not hard at all. You stack them like firewood, and you put the women on bottom because they burn hotter.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a crime to say that. I mean, it is a crime that will put you in jail if you say that this is not what actually happened.
Right.
For those of you who are tracking, but and I can see how some people would make that argument. The problem is we don't have positive examples of burning bodies,
right,
in Scripture,
right,
and it's always shown as a form of degradation, much like hanging on a tree, or as you pointed out today, I believe, or maybe yesterday, hanging on wood. Right?
Wood, yeah.
That is, the Bible says, "Cursed is anyone who hangs on wood."
Well, in Hebrew, it might actually say tree.
Yeah, in Hebrew, it might say, "Cursed is anyone who hangs on a tree." But the point being, there is something metaphysical going on there. When you hang somebody, it's not just a hanging. There's something else going on. There's a curse involved. Right. And when you burn a body, it's not merely that you're reducing it to dust and bones just really quickly for the sake of, keeping room at a cemetery, which is something that is done. There are some places where you can't bury bodies because the ground is too soggy. And that's why cremation is very popular in India, is because the ground is very wet and dead bodies float. That said, India is pretty nasty, the way that they cremate bodies. I was talking to one guy while I was there who was swimming in the river there. It's supposedly a holy river, one of the tributaries for the Ganges. And he's out in the water swimming, and he's like, this is kind of gross. And then as he's looking, here comes a dead body floating past him. And it's like this half-burned black human body that they got done burning it. Nothing else would burn, so they put it on a wagon, brought it to the river, and just threw it in the water.
Gross, dude.
Yeah. So, not great. Not great. Does that sound like a Christian burial to you? Not
really. No, but here was my thing. Now that I didn't know the thing about in the ancient Near East that they were like putting the bones on shelves. I didn't know that. So, but that's funny that you brought that, because that was one of my objections to receiving my grandmother's ashes, because I wasn't in charge of that. So it wasn't like I could step in and then say like, no, grandma will go in the ground. But my uncle, who was in charge of my, grandma's stuff, when she died. And, he was like, well, would you like me to crack open some of the, well, I had asked, I was like, what'd you do with the ashes? He's like, oh, I still have them. And he was like, do you want some? Cause I can crack it open and
they give you like a little snort baggie of them.
No, I'm good, dude. Like, yeah, but it was just funny because I was thinking, I was like, okay, let's say you have grandma's ashes, right? And then you die and you're cremated, and now your children are receiving grandma's ashes and your ashes, right? And then, whatever kid received that dies, and now those kids are receiving all these, like, by the time you get like 5 generations deep, you've got
a shelf in your house with little pots of just a little bit of everybody's ashes.
Yeah, like at some point you have to dispose of that. Mm-hmm. There's nothing permanent about that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big appeal of, for me at least, of having that grave, is because it is a witness that this is where this person died. They were buried.
This is where the person is right now.
Yeah,
this is their body. You can find it. It's not hidden. It's not dispersed. It wasn't lost at sea. It wasn't dumped in the river Ganges. It exists.
Yeah. And so, like, I've talked about this on the show, I think. Actually, this flag right here, this battle flag, I got off the grave of I'm in the Guardian program. I'm actually working. I think you have to do it for like a whole year before you could actually get the paperwork. But with the Sons of Confederate Veterans, there's a Confederate veteran buried in the town that I live in. And when I replaced the flag after this one got faded, I took it with me. I was like, well, it looks pretty cool because it's kind of tattered and faded, and it's got that authentic roughness to it. So I kept that one as kind of a reminder. But he's a guy. I mean, I went and got the D2, cleaned up his grave, made it look nice, and he's that grave is a witness that a real man lived and died and was buried in this place. And, if he is a Christian, then he will rise again from that place, not from a random place.
Right.
Which is funny when you think about, like, people were so reverent back in the day that when Stonewall Jackson was, like, sometimes there would just be so many people that died that they had to do a mass grave, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, look, everyone's getting buried reverently, but it's all going to be in the same hole. And at Charlottesville, where he lost his arm, they had to amputate his arm, and they felt like it was too important to just throw in the other pile. And so they gave his left arm, its own tombstone.
Right.
Like, so it just says the left arm of Stonewall Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, when he died, he was buried at a separate place. So I've always thought it'd be interesting, like in the resurrection, that Stonewall's going to have to go like
that scene in the Iron Giant where like the arm is crawling towards the body.
Where's my arm? You guys didn't
going to come back together one way or the other.
He's gonna go chase it down.
Yeah.
Anyways, but that's the reverence that you used to show. Like, even an arm, they were like, you know what, this is really important. This is an important man. Like, this should have its own grave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've also got I've got pulled up just some example. This is back in the 1980s. There was some guy who claimed he found the bones of Jesus because he found a guy in Jerusalem named Jesus who was married to a woman named Mary. And it's like, wait a minute, Jesus wasn't married to Mary. Mary was his mother. So it fell apart immediately. But there are some pictures of, this is what
probably trying to say it was Mary Magdalene. That's always what people say.
Yeah, but it just didn't work. It fell apart literally immediately, and yet atheists still bring it up every once in a while. But you can see the tomb. It looks like a house. They've made some decorations cut into the wall. This is what it looks like on the inside. Just a lot of slots. And these slots here is where they would lay bodies and lay them long ways in the tomb. And the way they buried people at the time, this is what a box looks like once they've collected the bone fragments and put them in there. And they fall apart. They're very brittle. It's not like these bones are all in one piece, each of them distinct. But, when they lay these bodies down, they decay in there. But they lay them on their sides because it's a European thing to be laid on your back with your arms crossed over your heart. Egyptians did it that way, but the Semitic people, and this is not just the people of God, but other tribal people that buried their dead, they were buried on their side in the fetal position. We don't really know why, but this representation that we have of Jesus being laid out on a table on his back is almost certainly wrong, because people at the time and even afterwards, this image here where he's laid on his back, people were mostly buried on their sides in these Semitic burials. King David was buried on his side. There's good reason to believe that we have evidence for that, but that's getting a little far afield of what we're talking about right now, which is there quick. Is.
When it says like the family tomb of Jesus, right? Why does that immediately fall apart? Do you know why, Jeff?
Because he didn't have a family. Well, he didn't have a wife and children anyway. And
well, there's something even more straightforward than that. Whose tomb was he buried in?
He wasn't buried in his tomb, was he?
No, it was the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea.
Yeah.
where no one had laid in before. So there wouldn't be a family tomb of Jesus. It would just be Joseph of Arimathea's tomb. And then clearly it became a popular enough tomb to where when I want to say Constantine sent his mother to Jerusalem to find the place where Jesus was buried, locals told him, told her,
it's right here.
Yeah, this is the spot. We all know this. And so that is the the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. That's it. That grave there is the spot. And there's no one else buried there. There's no other,
and there's nobody at all buried there. It's an empty tomb.
Right.
Yeah.
They even have a slab there that is traditionally, at least, the slab where he was prepared. So like his body was laid on the slab and he was wrapped and all that kind of stuff. And people were like, when I went there, like people were sitting there with like t-shirts or rags or whatever with oil and like rubbing it on there, like they were going to get some extra holiness out of it.
some extra Jesus juice out of the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild stuff. But I mean, it was and I know a lot of people are very skeptical, but I don't think there's any reason to doubt that the tomb that we have today is the tomb that Jesus was buried in, because it was remarkable. People knew, and the people who live there are descended from the people who lived there at the time. This, if Jesus rose out of a tomb, you would know where that tomb was. I mean,
right.
We know where Abraham Lincoln is buried right now. Okay, because the people who live in America right now are the same people who lived in America when Abraham Lincoln was shot, and their descendants. And there's some other people here who weren't there, but the remnant is still there, and people know, right? That's not something that gets lost. But let's see. Point 11, he says, we need to reform the funeral industry. We need to get the church involved in this again. Yeah, why are all funeral homes camped out in the bones of a derelict church? Right? It's always some church that closed down that gets turned into a funeral home, right? And the ones that are nice, right, the purpose-built funeral homes, they're not churches at all. They're just a big building.
Did I get lost? Or did you go? There we go. I think you got cut off for a bit.
Oh, okay, I'll repeat myself. But why have we become so agnostic in our funeral homes? Why are our funeral homes so irreligious? When did that happen? Why did that happen? And we need to fix that. I mean, this can't go on. And then point number 12, finally, if you're planning on being cremated, change your plans. Plan for a Christian burial with your body planted in the ground, awaiting the resurrection, facing east. If your loved ones have been cremated, do not take this as a condemnation of their soul, although they made the mistake of destroying their bodies with the authority to do so. Their souls are saved by the one who will not lose them. And he's got a follow-up here, which I think is a good point. He says they push to make abortion cheap while childbirth remains expensive. They push to make cremation cheap while a proper burial remains expensive. This is because we have a culture that seeks to destroy the image of God in our bodies from conception to death.
Yeah. They.
Who is it? Who did that?
But
anyway, quick Google search. Who brought cremation to America? Dr. Francis Julius Lemoyne. And I did some further reading. He brought modern cremation to America in 1876. He was driven by sanitary concerns that traditional burials were contaminating the water. And also, he was a humanitarian. He built the furnace. The first person cremated was Baron Joseph Henry Louis Charles de Palme in December of 1876. He was a physician who believed that storing bodies in cemeteries was a sanitary hazard to the living. Yeah, because burying a dead body 6 feet underground is a sanitary hazard. But burning them and scattering their smoke and ashes all over your community is not. You tracking? It talks about initial resistance, and then, in 1900, there were 20 crematoriums. In 1913, the Cremation Association of America began to promote this. They are still around. And I didn't do any early life checking, but, if there's an entire group with affiliate organizations that's been around for 150 years and their sole purpose is, just promoting cremations, why? I mean, why are you so dead set on this? Like, why is this something that you care about so much? But yeah, I didn't do any further reading on these people, but I did do some further reading on this guy, Francis Julius Lemoyne. He was a humanitarian and fought for people's rights. Son of Nancy McCauley and John Julius Lemoyne, graduated from Washington College. He was active in the abolitionist movement in Pennsylvania.
Shocker.
So anti-slavery, agent of the Underground Railroad. Yeah. Underground Railroad almost certainly did not exist. That is probably a farce, but that is a topic for another day. He left his New School Presbyterian Church, and I don't remember where in that it says the stuff that he did, but I'll just give you the skinny on it. He was foundational in opening a seminary for women. So he was a Unitarian abolitionist who donated the modern equivalent of $250 million to open a seminary for women. This is the guy that brought cremation to America. Also, he didn't know how to grow a good beard. So, physiognomy check right there. But all that to say, man, I mean, what are we doing here? This is not a Christian practice. This is not a Christian man. And cremation was not the only unchristian practice that he brought to the United States. That women's seminary is still open today as a college. And it is a disgusting leftist hellhole, as one would expect. So, poisonous fruit of the poisonous tree. Good trees give good fruit. Bad trees give bad fruit. And Lemoyne was not a good tree. Notable countries that practice cremation. We've already mentioned India, very unsanitary. On the other end, Japan, very sanitary. When you think of Japan, you think of clean streets and subways, beautifully devoid of diversity, everything clean, people polite. And they do cremate everybody to the point where they don't allow foreigners to be buried in their country because they don't really believe in burial. They don't really bury anybody, from what I understand, ever since the country became predominantly Buddhist. It's very difficult to get a body in the dirt in Japan. Christians have been there longer, so they kind of get some exceptions, some exemptions. But there was a Muslim mosque in Tokyo that was trying to open a graveyard. And the Japanese more or less told them to go pound sand because we don't bury our dead and neither do you. You're in Japan. Yeah. When in Rome, do like the Romans.
They also have very limited land.
Yeah, it's a small country
to it
per capita. Yeah. So we've already also covered in America what percentage. Let me just type this out. Actually, I was going to look this up, but it's not an unnoticeable number of cremations in the United States. As of 2025, approximately 63.4% of people were cremated. The projection that it will rise to 82.3% by 2045. It has become the preferred choice over burial due to lower costs, environmental concerns. Again, environment, how does that make sense? You're putting it in the air. And shifting cultural views. Those shifting cultural views are the ones we talked about, where they disrespect the body. The rate of cremation varies significantly by state, exceeding 70 to 80% in many of the Western states. And very interesting little map here, actually. I'll go ahead and share this window because I want you to notice something. The places where burial is more prominent are the places where Christianity is more prevalent.
Yeah.
That is not a coincidence, folks. That is not a coincidence. You might think it has nothing to do with, your religion. It's unrelated, but the tradition holds hard and it's not going anywhere. And the reason it's not is because that's Christianity, folks. We bury our dead. We always have. We always will. I'm going to hit these real quick. Cremation in Scripture, cremation in quotes there. Saul and his sons were burned in 1 Samuel 31, verses 11 through 13. That's not because the Israelites were like, hey, let's burn Saul as a sign of honor. The Philistines captured their bodies and hung them up and were abusing them. And it's sort of insinuated sexually. They were doing nasty things to these bodies. So the Israelites came, they captured the bodies, they burned the bodies, and then they buried them after they burned them. They were doing this as a way to deprive the Philistines of their trophy. This was not showing honor to Saul. It was trying to save the degradation that was already being enacted by the Philistines. Achan in Joshua 7:25 is burned. His body is burned as punishment. Okay. Edom, the king of Edom in Amos 2:1 is burned. And the people who do it are condemned by God for so doing. Josiah in 2 Kings 23:16 through 20, he burns a bunch of dead bodies on pagan altars as a way to profane them. He is burning people on the altars that they sacrifices on. He is doing this to mock them, right? We have a similar thing, remember, where Herod mixed people's blood with their sacrifices, right? He burned them on the altar with their sacrifices. That was not a noble cremation. That was a degradation. That was a blasphemy, right? And then we've got Leviticus 20:14, 1 Kings 16:18, bodies being burned after they were slaughtered. That's not a noble burial. That is in some ways, that's a necessary means, because you've got a bunch of dead bodies after you did a massacre, and you got to get rid of them so they don't rot and cause disease. But it's also a way of dishonoring those dead people. And the Bible's very clear that those dead bodies that are being burned and not buried, that is dishonor to those dead bodies. Comments, Sean?
I think that the comments are going to kind of bring up some of the things I wanted to say about that.
Okay.
Hit the comments on the show are going to.
Okay. We'll hit over to comments. And then when we come back, I want to talk about Christian burials in the Bible. But all of this to sum up, very consistently, cremation in Scripture is not honorable. It's dishonorable.
Yeah.
Just like being hung on a tree is not honorable, it's dishonorable. All right. And that's not to say that every person who's hung on a tree is necessarily going to hell. That's obviously not true. I mean, many of the apostles were crucified in like manner as Christ. Behind me, there is a St. Andrew's cross because he was crucified on a cross. And it was a slightly different shape, but it was kind of the same idea, But if your loved ones were cremated, they're not going to hell. That's not how this works. But we do these things for a reason. All right, let's get into comments here. Check for Tunnels. Zoltan says, My Baptist pastor quoted it exactly when I was buried. He's dogging on you. He's dogging on you.
Is that what I said? I was trying to figure out if I said that or baptized.
But,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Same idea.
You know what he meant. You know what he meant. Come on, cut us some slack. Not Rex, but Caesar says, I wish Dave's Volt lapel pins had some tie, which had orange, white, and blue stripes. Well, he does sell ties on the website now. I mean, there is that, but they're very limited. One thing I've noticed is here it's our sponsor. We have to rep this here. I'm not a long ties guy, but he does sell long ties, and he's got the Cairo, which is very cool. Love that. He's got the red Jerusalem cross on a black background. I think this is blue on gray. It might be black on gray. We've got red on black with a yellow outline as well. This one here looks really rad, but I don't know how well it's going to match with stuff. But I am still waiting. I am still waiting on the Dave's Volt lapel pins bow tie collection to be released because I am a bow tie guy. I know some of y'all have never seen a real bow tie before, so.
Oh, is he putting one on now?
This is how that works.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah, so the story of bow ties with me goes back to when I was a piano student. My teacher for our yearly recitals and kind of things would require us to wear a bow tie, a bow tie and a suit. Yeah, it was a dressy occasion. And I was maybe 13 at the time, maybe 12. I was not old, right? I was a kid. But I discovered that bow ties were not all clip-ons. And I felt absolutely betrayed. And what do you mean? I am almost an adult, and I didn't know that bow ties were actually a real thing. And so here I've been wearing a clip-on this whole time. So ever since then, I bought a real bow tie. We went to Dillard's, bought a real bow tie, and ever since then, I really like bow ties. So that's because I'm a dorky piano kid. But anyhow, Dave's Volt lapel pins does sell ties. You wish they had one with orange, white, and blue stripes. I don't get the reference, but I assume that might have something to do with the PCA logo. Something
orange,
like that.
White, and blue might be Auburn.
Might be Dutch. Maybe he's a Nederlander. Not sure. Not sure. Could be anything. I'm
working through all the things I know.
Okay. John C. Barstow says it's so wild to me how many Christians are embracing cremation. When I was a child, it was controversial for people to even be embalmed. When I was a kid, it was controversial to be cremated, but not embalmed. That seemed to be normal. But when we buried my grandfather, we didn't embalm him.
The embalming thing seems to be about keeping the body good for when the
you're keeping it presentable for the open casket.
I guess that nowadays we don't just drop everything to go to a funeral. It's like, wait for Saturday.
We're going to push it to the weekend.
So I think
that does happen. I mean, Grandpa doesn't always die on a Friday night. Sometimes he dies on a Monday morning, and they're going to push it all the way to the weekend. But not to be too gross and morbid, but what we did with my grandpa is we did a closed casket. And when they came and picked him up, they put him in a giant Ziploc bag. it was kind of strange, but it was. I put him in a big Ziploc bag so that it wouldn't smell up the place, and put him in a nice wooden box. Did it turn
green when they pinched the thing?
No, it was it was actually a really cool bag, and it had a zipper on it, and then the zipper had a lapel or a thing that you would flap over and seal. I mean, it was airtight, but evidently that's normal procedure. And if you're not going to be embalmed, they just kind of leave you in it. And woe betides the man who busts it open.
Yeah.
200 years from now, somebody's going to find it.
Seals
but
in the
yeah.
flavor.
Oh, man. John C. Barson again says, my paternal grandfather was the first relative of mine to be cremated. I absolutely hated it, not only for the symbol, but also because there was a lack of closure. Yeah, that's another thing is cremations don't tend to have funerals.
Yeah.
Like you show up and it's like, instead of being a quasi church service, which I already don't like that it's only quasi a church service.
Yeah.
I mean, instead you just walk into a room and everybody's just kind of sitting around jolly jacking. There isn't really a funeral. It's just kind
Celebration
of a moment
of
for us
life.
to sit around. Yeah. I don't like it. But
yeah, and that was the comment that I wanted to riff on, because you're asking me for
this
thoughts.
one here,
the lack of above.
Oh, the lack of closure.
Yeah, lack of closure. That I think is the big thing that is robbed when you do a cremation, because there is no. How do I want to say this? Like I'll use my great grandma. That was the last person I know that died. I think, pretty sure. But she was like 107, 108, something crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she always had this chair. Like anytime I would go over my grandma's house, my great grandma would be there, like sitting in this chair watching the baseball game. Like it was just like her chair, right? And so like that was the place. This is where great grandma's going to be. And when she died, she was put in like she wasn't cremated. She was put in like a wall type thing, kind of like what you were showing with the ancient Near East.
Mm-hmm.
And so like those are kind of popular out here. It saves a lot of space.
Sarcophagus kind of thing.
Yeah, it's above ground, but it's like her husband, who died in like the early 90s, was already in there, and then hers was like lifted up and then put in the wall, the locker. It's like a locker type thing, and it's got their names on it and all that kind of stuff. And so now that's the place where grandma's at, right? It used to be the chair, right? Or like grandma's room, who now, somebody else lives in that room now, but we still call it great grandma's room, because that was the place where she would be. All that to say, if she was to be cremated, there is no place where grandma's at. But now we know she's at Chapel of the Chimes or something like that. But if I wanted, I could go to the place where grandma's at now. And there's a closure to that. It was like, yeah, we watched, I carried her casket, me and other men. So there is that closure to it. With cremation, it's just kind of like with my grandma. I keep saying grandma. I'm talking about different grandmas. When my maternal grandma died, there was a point where I was like, hey, what'd you guys do with grandma's body? I didn't even hear. I wasn't even part of that discussion. Like, what did you do? And they're like, oh, she got cremated. And I'm like, all right, like whatever. He was like, oh yeah, your mom got a little bit of it, and then I've got like the lion's share of grandma's stuff. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so weird, like divvying up grandma. Like it's just a weird. What are you gonna do with that, right?
I mean, you wouldn't do that with a body that wasn't ground up into powder. Yeah. You wouldn't be like, oh yeah, we buried Dad's arm in my backyard, but we buried his head in Uncle Bill's backyard. And Aunt Wendy has him from the hips down in her cemetery at her church. It's like,
that's like something out of the
ridiculous.
Mummy. Yeah, that's like a curse they would put on a tray of the Mummy, where it, like his parts are scattered to the four winds, and
so they never come back together again. Yeah,
or like the woman who was raped to death in Judges.
Yeah, and he sent her like body out.
Yeah, like sending parts of her body to everyone. Like that's what that feels like. So it's like there's a lack of
and that was not done as a way of showing honor to her.
Right.
And you look at his behavior throughout the whole story. First off, she was not an honorable woman. And second off, he was not super excited about showing honor to her. He was sending out a message of revenge. All right. He was like, hey, this is what happened to me. And this is how I'm suffering because of it. Look at this. We need to do something about it. And he was completely justified in that.
Yeah.
She was not a good wife, but she was his wife. And you can't just go doing that to people's wives. John C. Barsoom says Stonewall Jackson was all right.
Yeah.
Barsoom.
Because he
was more than all right.
Well, because he lost his left arm.
All right. Well, he was all right for a little while anyway.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't. Not Rex, but Caesar says ashes to ashes and dust to dust is referring to the verse to dust. From dust you came, to dust you will return. Yeah. Correct. Yeah, it is correct. But specifically, the ashes to ashes, dust to dust part is from the Book of Common Prayer.
Yeah, it's right there in the Bible next to that single track of footprints is where I carried you. That's
right. Not Rex, but Caesar says we know Jesus laid on his back because of the Shroud of Turin.
I'm with you on that. I am a Shroud of Turin respecter.
Do we though?
Yeah, I am a. Not only the Shroud of Turin, but the what is the face one called? It's in a different spot, but it matches up. What is it called?
I'm not familiar with this one.
Oh, there's a second one. What is it called? The veil of, oh boy. What is it called? Face mask of face cloth of Jesus.
The veil of Montepello. A highly transparent relic depicting a man's face with open eyes, housed in the Santuario del Volto Santo in Montepello, Italy, considered by devotees to be the veil of Veronica. Nope, that's not it. But I've not heard of this veil thing. So
Sudarium of Oviedo, that might be it.
I know Oviedo. But anyway, we'll go to Servilder says, the earliest mention in the scriptures of burning a corpse that I recall is when they burned the corpse of King Saul before him turning him.
Yeah,
because that would present the Philistines from further ... desecration of the corpse. Every other person up to that point returned to the earth from which he came.
Yep.
And that is, according to my research that I did for the show, that is also the first recording that we have of a body being burned. That is correct. And he says, oh, I missed that one. Achan. Yes. No, that's correct. Achan was first. Check for Tunnel says, no, you didn't say that. It just seemed like that is what you were going to say for a second, and I chuckled. Oh, okay. So he's imagining you stuttering, and he's laughing at you. You didn't even stutter in real life, and you're still catching strays, man. How unfair. I tell you what. Servilder says, I'm a bow tie guy is another way to say I am a huge nerd.
Yeah. Remember when Tucker Carlson was trying to make the remember when Tucker Carlson was trying to make the bow tie like his thing, and then he was like, nah, I give up on this.
Yeah, it was after he had, I think it was Bill Maher came on the show. It was like, look at you sitting here with a bow tie like a little schoolboy, and just absolutely ripped him a new one. And the bow tie was a big part of it. And then the next show, he came on with a long tie. After that, he never wore another bow tie. He took that one personally, like that was a kill shot. But let's see. BJJ once again says, on the bow tie, I refer to Homer Simpson. I'm not cool enough to be different.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Not Rex, but Cedar says orange, white, and blue for Dutch Reformed. Okay, so see, I was right about it.
You
being
were right.
A
You're on
thing.
It.
But is the Dutch Reformed Church, are those their colors? Is that a thing? Because I'm not Dutch Reformed. I mean, I've never actually been to a Dutch Reformed church. I've been to the Netherlands a bunch. I lived in Germany and we went there a lot, but never a church there. Servilda says there's a burial society in Austin which doesn't embalm because that's not an Orthodox Christian act. Interesting. Okay.
Take your word for it.
Yeah. Is that, I mean, wasn't Jesus embalmed? I mean, not the same embalming that we do today, obviously.
Yeah.
Very different.
But
I mean, when you read the passage in John, I mean, they're rubbing his body down with spices and oils and things. I mean, that is what embalming is. Okay, it is a form of embalming. Now, it's not the weird chemical injections into the blood veins that we do today, but it is a form of embalming. Servilda says urns are gross. Spittoons are gross. I mean, it's what
it looks like the same thing,
inside that counts. Yeah,
yeah.
It's I mean, if it's full of dead men's, if the inside is full of dead men's bones, then yeah,
that's what we need.
Beautiful, but
that's what we need to do. I think before someone dies, we need to get them to put in a fat dip and just fill up a spittoon, and then keep that on the shelf. A spittoon of their spit. There we go. I think we've solved it. I think we've solved it.
I don't think I'm nearly redneck enough for this. But, yeah, and then Sir Vilder would talk about the shroud. He says, I know I've heard it called an icon not made with hands, but that's a category. Or maybe he's referring to the veil that you were talking about. Yeah. We'll find it at a later date. Not necessarily pertinent to this show.
Yeah.
Counterpoint, every time bricks are mentioned in the Bible, it's bad. Should kids be kept away from Legos? Every time bricks are mentioned in the Bible,
bricks?
It's bad.
The only time I could think of bricks is in Exodus when they're making bricks. What else would it be?
I'm going to do an on-the-spot fact check because this is just not correct.
I think the point is, I get the point that you're trying to make, but I don't think that's
making
really
bricks without straw. No longer give them straw. No straw. Isaiah, the bricks have fallen, but we have built with dressed stones. The sycamore have been cut down, but we have put cedars in their place. Isaiah 65:3. A people who provoke me to my face continually, sacrificing in gardens and making offerings on bricks. No, it's just a standard thing. Bricks is just a normal amoral object. Cremation is not an amoral object. It is an actual action. Okay, and actions have moral principles. Your parallel doesn't work, Yellow Moth. You're going to have to work that one out a little bit more. And
I think it's also
kept away from Legos. No, absolutely not.
I think it's also notable that. Sorry, man. My voice is crazy. I feel like I'm sounding like RFK Jr. right now.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
Yeah.
Vaccines, maybe not. Vaccines may be retarded.
Yeah. I did a lot of coke like 25 years ago. Anyways, Jesus. None of his bones were broken. Now, I know that's not because they were trying to keep his body well maintained or whatever.
Yeah, it was divine intervention.
Yeah, it was, but like that was the amount of care that Christ, the scriptures to be fulfilled was kept in. Like none of his bones were broken.
Yeah, and that was after he was dead too. That was not during his lifetime. None of his bones were broken. It was. No, so after he was dead, none of his bones were broken.
Right. So his body never saw corruption. Like that's one of the scriptural fulfillments. He never had his bones broken. Obviously, he was pierced in fulfillment of the scriptures, pierced for our transgressions. But there, in the end, there was a care that was given to Christ's body that it was not allowed to be tossed to the side. I mean, you had Joseph of Arimathea, as I said, like he went and petitioned for the body of Jesus. And he was just like, hey, I would like to bury this person. And even then he was given that right to do that. I guess all that to say, like, if you revere a person who dies, you should treat their body with some amount of reverence.
Yeah. I mean, if the idea at the time was, he's dead, but he's not here, that body doesn't mean anything anymore. Would Joseph of Arimathea really had that much reverence for the dead Jesus Christ? Mm-hmm. Or would he have had the same kind of flippant attitude modern people have, where they're just like, throw my dead body in a ditch, I'm not in it anymore? No, that's not the way Christians behaved then, and it's not how we should behave now. BJJ once again says, although he has been an utter skid mark recently, I think Nate Wilson has the best argument against the shroud. I think it is fake, as did all the people at the time when it was discovered. No. Obviously not all the people at the time.
Yeah.
Because if everybody thought it was a fake, it would not have been maintained to today.
Nate Wilson will sit there and he'll be like, oh, I reproduced the Shroud of Turin on my own, just using sunlight and whatever. Okay, let's see it.
All right, show me.
Say you did it. Yeah.
Show me.
Whip it.
I'm not from Missouri, but I'd like to see this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't know anything about that. I actually kind of like Nate Wilson. A lot of things that he said have been kind of interesting. But he also has a lot of bad takes. I mean, he's got some really good ones, and he's got some bad ones too. A lot of people are mixed bags, and I would have to see his assessment. I am agnostic on the shroud, but I'm inclined to disbelieve it just because of the side sleeper thing, which has nothing to do with any of the arguments anybody else has made. But also, I think the carbon dating, which is known to be very problematic, did date it to the medieval period. And there have been some Catholic guys who really try to figure out how actually it's okay that happened, because it was a repair that was made, but there was no evidence of the repair.
Yeah, they took it off of a weird corner. No, they took it off of a weird corner that had a clearly
They took it off of a normal corner.
No, it had a different color to it. Like it was obviously something weird was going on with that corner. So that's
well, I mean, like I said, I'm agnostic. I'm not. I'm willing to be swayed either direction, but I'm skeptical. If somebody says they're agnostic, that means they're skeptical. But anyway, Yellow Moss says,
it means you're without knowledge, is what it actually means.
Agnos, without knowledge, correct. Yeah, I don't know. Yellow Moss says Samson's wife and in-laws were burned. Yeah, they weren't even dead yet. I mean, that was such a respectful cremation. They didn't even wait for them to die. Yellow Moth, I don't think that's a good example, but point taken. Sir Vilder says the Veil of Veronica is a similar relic to the Shroud of Turin. I think that was the relic which Sean was thinking of. I looked at a picture of the Veil of Veronica when we were trying to figure out what it was that he was thinking of. And let me just say, it is not on the same level of the Shroud of Turin.
There's a whatever it is, whatever the one I'm thinking of is, it actually matches the Shroud of Turin. Like it
yeah, I remember somebody talking about
the
this.
Same face. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, whereas the Veil of Veronica, a revered Christian relic believed to be the cloth used by Saint Veronica to wipe his face on the way to Calvary. No, okay, yeah, maybe that is the one that is supposed to. Except I'm not seeing any pictures of it. I'm seeing a lot of paintings of people having it.
This is saying the Sudarium of Oviedo, or face cloth of Jesus, is a blood-stained linen cloth housed in the Cathedral of San Salvador in Oviedo, Spain.
Right.
Believed to be the cloth mentioned in John 20, verse 7, that covered Jesus' head after crucifixion. It holds no image, but has stains that align with the Shroud of Turin.
Mm-hmm.
So take that for what it is. Mm-hmm. I went through a phase like a year ago when there was something that happened with
when everybody was going through the phase.
Everyone was talking about it again. I don't remember why, but I got really into listening to people talk about it.
Didn't Stone Choir do a thing on the Shroud of Turin? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah. But
my faith is not based on the Shroud of Turin, but
exactly,
I believe that the Shroud of Turin is authentic. I don't need it to be authentic in order to believe in the resurrection, but I do believe it's legit.
Here is not Rex, but Caesar responding to Yellow Moth. He says, kids should be kept away from Legos because they're so expensive.
Yeah, these days.
Yeah, they've... I remember when I was a kid, they were expensive. And as I've become an adult, it's only gotten worse. I'm not really sure what's going on there. It's the same plastic bricks. They shouldn't be more expensive. I mean, but yeah, I love Legos. I loved Legos. I don't play with them much anymore, but I probably should. I've got kids that are the right age. I need to get them some Legos. Sir Vilder says, you don't nearly sound as gloriously gravelly as RFK Jr. Thank you. Thank you. We're shooting for that glorious gravel, but it's not happening. All criticism of this show can be directed to our email. Link is in our YouTube page. Going down here, not Rex, but Caesar says, none of Jesus' bones being broken makes me think of Thor's goat.
I'm not familiar with Thor's goat. I don't know what that means.
I don't know anything about Thor's goat, my guy. I know a very little bit about, Viking mythology, the pagan gods of that area, but I don't know anything about a goat. There's people arguing. Yeah. We'll scroll.
Forget all that. Don't need it.
And Sir Vilder, there are a few Western relics whose authenticity I question. Yeah, because he's an Eastern. He's like, well, my fake relics are better than your.
My relic, yes. This is for sure the pinky bone of St. Peter here. Yes.
This piece of the true cross is real, but yours isn't. Like,
yeah,
my guy, there are enough pieces of the one true cross to build enough ships to sink the American Navy. So, consider me skeptical. But anyway, we had one more bit that I wanted to go through before we close out the show, and that is examples of Christian burial. And I'm not going to go through all of them because it would take a long time. I mean, the Bible's a big book. And everybody in it died. Okay, everybody in it died, with the exception of 2 people. And Jesus was one of the people that died. He just didn't happen to stay dead. But 2 people didn't. They were taken up to heaven. But those people that died, the majority of them were buried, and a lot of them were recorded. But we have the burial of Abraham in Genesis 25:10, and I am going to read some of these, but I'm going to try to not make it take too long. Okay. Genesis 25:10, the field that Abraham purchased from the Hittites, there Abraham was buried with Sarah, his wife. And the next one that I wanted to go to is that one that was just mentioned, which is Genesis 23, verse 10 also. Now Ephron was sitting among the Hittites, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of all the Hittites, of all who went in at the gate of his city, no, my Lord, hear me. I give you the field. I give you the cave that is in it. In the sight of the sons of my people, I give it to you. Bury your dead, referring to Sarah, who has just died. Then Abraham bowed down before the people of the land. He said to Ephron in the hearing of the people of the land, but if you will hear me, I will give the price of the field. Accept it from me that I may bury my dead there. And Ephron answered him, my Lord, listen to me, a piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? Bury your dead. Abraham listened to Ephron. Abraham weighed out for Ephron the silver that he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver according to the weight current among the merchants. So the field of Ephron in Machpelah, which was to the east of Mamre, the field with the cave that was in it, and all the cities that were in the field throughout its whole area was made over to Abraham as a possession in the presence of the Hittites before all who went in at the gate of his city. I do think it's interesting that it is to the east of the city also. Very early reference. The first reference, I believe, to any burial in Scripture is Sarah, and she's buried to the east of the city. Abraham is later buried with her. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah, his wife, in the cave of the field of Machpelah, east of Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, The field and the cave that is in it were made over to Abraham as property for for a burying place by the Hittites. And that's a very important part when it comes to the people of Israel laying a claim to the land later, because their ancestors are buried there. Abraham and Sarah are buried in Israel, right? And that plays a part when they're coming into the land to possess it, that they have that right by the fact that that's where their people are from. And then Joseph. I'm going to skip over a couple burials down to Joseph in the last two verses of Genesis 50, 25, and 26. Joseph left instructions that his bones would not be left in Egypt. So as the people are burying Joseph, then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, God will surely visit you. You shall carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died being 110 years old. Then they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. All right. And then later, when he was picked back up, they carried his bones with them when they left. Exodus 13:19, Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for Joseph had made the sons of Israel solemnly swear, saying, God will surely visit you and carry you up, and you shall carry up my bones with you from here. And then it goes on to talk about where all the places they went. And Hebrews mentions this. Hebrews 11:22, by faith Joseph at the end of his life made mention of the exodus of the Israelites and gave directions concerning his bones. That's in the Hall of Faith. You know, his treatment of his dead bones is recorded in the Hall of Faith as a moment of his faith. Christians, hear me. When you bury your dead, instead of cremating them, that is a sign of your faith. That is your faith being acted out, just like Joseph. And then
also note that with Joseph, he cares where he's buried, not just that he's buried. Anyways, go on.
Yeah. Three more. I'm just going to hit them quickly. Deuteronomy 34. End of Deuteronomy. Here's Moses. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo to the top of Pisgah, which is opposite Jericho, and the Lord showed him all the land, right? He couldn't go in it, but he could see it. Gilead, as far as Dan, all of Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the western sea, the Negeb and the plain. That is the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees as far as Zoar. And the Lord said to him, this is the land of which I swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. I will give it to your offspring. I have let you see it with your eyes, but you shall not go over there. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he buried him in the valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor. But no one knows the place of his burial to this day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were undimmed and his vigor unabated. And the people of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. Then the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. And then Joshua picks up from there. Guys, God buried Moses. If that's not a recommendation, I don't know what is. All right. David, good old King David. 1 Kings 2:10. Then David slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David. And the time that David reigned over Israel was 40 years. And we have found David's tomb. It's still in Jerusalem. We've got the little slot where they laid his body when he died. He's not there anymore. We don't know what's become of his bones. We don't know if they got picked up, put in a jar, moved somewhere, broken, lost. But he was buried in a tomb in Jerusalem. And that place is visitable today. You can go to Jerusalem and find the place where David was buried. We know where it was. And then, of course, the most important burial in all of Scripture. John 19, verse 38. After these things, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a disciple of Jesus, but secretly, for fear of the Jews, asked Pilate that he might take away the body of Jesus, and Pilate gave him permission. So he came and took away his body. Nicodemus also, who earlier had come to Jesus by night, came bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds in weight. All right, that's calculated for modern American weights. All right, 75 pounds. That's an embalming if I've ever heard of it. So they took the body of Jesus and bound it in linen cloths with the spices, as is the burial custom of the Jews. Now in that place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb in which no one had yet been laid. So because of the Jewish day of preparation, since the tomb was close at hand, they laid Jesus there. All right. Jesus was buried, and Jesus was raised to new life after his death. 3 days later, on Easter Sunday, Christ arose. And we are buried in faith. Because we are Christians, we are buried the way Christ was buried, the way that Christians before Christ were buried, the Christians who looked forward to the coming Christ. That is an element of our faith. It is not the primary element. It is not the most important part of our faith, but it's there. That tradition exists for a reason, and that reason is because we believe that the body is sacred. We are made in the image of God. Our bodies are to be treated with respect even after we are dead. Communists love to dig up bodies of dead Christians and desecrate them. Philistines love to desecrate dead bodies. The people that you see disrespecting dead bodies in Scripture and in history are not good people. The body is not a meaningless sack of lard. God gave you your body to inhabit. And if you're fat and gross, that is bad. Take care of your body in life. Take care of your body in death. Because God didn't give it to you for no reason. That is a good thing. It is a good gift. It is something to be preserved and honored and respected. Sean, thoughts?
I mean, I think you covered it pretty well. I mean, you're not done with your body after your death. You're putting it on hold. It is not it's not the natural state of man to be without his physical body. In fact, Adam had his physical body before he even had his soul. Like, the physical body is integral to the human experience. You're not a ghost in a machine, right? You're not just a soul that happens to have a body.
You are a ghost and a machine. You're both.
Yeah, your whole person is the whole package. I mean, there's no, it is a weird, it's a weird time in between, after we die, but before the final resurrection where we receive our bodies again. Like that's not the normal situation for human beings. Into eternity, we will have our physical bodies again.
Mm-hmm. When Jesus appears to John in the book of Revelation, that is the same physical body that was raised on Easter morning. Okay, that is not just a spirit. Okay, Jesus has a physical body that he occupies and inhabits. And when he appears to John on the island of Patmos, he shows his glorified body. And it's glorious. I mean, essentially all the superhero legends that kids grow up with, essentially what those are is it is the primal man yearning for that glorified body. It is, we know at a spiritual level that there is something going to be better than what we are now, that there is a glorified body that is possible and we yearn for it. even in ways that we don't necessarily understand. And for us to desecrate our bodies in this life is to be out of sync with what we should be doing. It's out of sync with the way we should be behaving. All right, we got a few comments here. Not Rex, but Caesar. He's giving us a little bit on Thor's goat. He says, R.E. Thor's goat. There's a story that Thor had a goat which would resurrect after he ate it every night. But if you broke the bones, the resurrected goat would have broken bones. There is a legend. All right. That's weird. That's weird. Kind of convenient,
but
yeah. I mean, the thing that reminds me of is not Oedipus, the guy with the rock.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus, yeah. It kind of reminds me of No, Prometheus is the one I'm thinking of. It reminds me kind of Prometheus.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Chained to the rock, and then the crows come and eat his liver, right? But it always grows back. And it's like that's not exactly a beautiful Christian story. It's more of a nightmare than anything else. Yellow Moth, they were all buried at Machpelah, which is near Jerusalem, because they are the people who are resurrected in Matthew 29:52. Good point. Maybe that's why we can't find David's bones in his tomb, is because
I've never heard that connection, but that's
resurrected in Matthew
thing to look into.
29. Yeah, but I mean, somebody did, and people recognized them. So
yeah, someone was like, "Hey, dude." Well, if they recognized him, then it probably wasn't the patriarch.
Then it probably wasn't. Yeah, because nobody would have known what David looked like. So yeah, maybe. Maybe. I'll just say that. But and then Sir Vilder is quoting you. He says, "Sean, Adam had a physical body before he had a soul." That's right. That's right. And he
didn't become a living soul until his physical body was given the breath of life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, like I only say that not because the body is more important, but because that's how integral it is to the human experience. Jesus could not have taken on humanity without taking on a physical body, because a physical body is integral.
It's an integral part. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't be human without having the body. Yeah. All right. And I think we'll close out the comments there. The after show for our Father sponsors, for our Father supporters, will be here. We have a new Father supporter. I won't blast out your name because I don't know how private you want to be. But we have a new Father supporter, and I cannot get a hold of you. I know I had your phone number at some point, and I sent you an email. If you are listening now, my good friend, please reach out to me. I'm trying to add you to the group chat so that you can be in the after show. But thank you for your support. Fellas, if you want to support the show, the way to do that is buymeacoffee.com/for-future-generations. The link is in the description. And next week will be the last Sunday of the month. So we will be having our support call for our brothers. Our brother supporters, we appreciate all of you who come along and support the show. That is going to be very handy because next month I'm going to have to re-up on the price of this software that we stream on, and it is not cheap. So if you have a little pocket cheese, if you want to shuffle a little bit of that our way, it would be very greatly appreciated. But nonetheless, this work will continue because it's a lot of fun. We're saying important things. I hope that this discussion has been good for you. I mean, this was, like I said at the beginning of the show, I more or less stole this topic from Ethan, friend of the show, who he brought this up on Twitter, and you would not believe the wild things that it uncovered. I mean, you had people arguing with him about resurrection, going so far even as saying that Jesus didn't really physically resurrect from the dead. Those old heresies come back. And the reason those old heresies are coming back is because we are not teaching proper theology about the human body. People think it doesn't matter. People start thinking, well, if my physical body doesn't matter, maybe Jesus, it didn't matter. Maybe he was just a spirit when he resurrected. And these are important things. And the ramifications of these bad practices and bad theology will endanger the souls of people you know. So please consider the things that you have heard tonight. Please consider that, if nothing else, burying your dead is Chesterton's fence. If you are unconvinced by the scriptures that we have provided, if you're unconvinced by the arguments, at least think about it like Chesterton's fence, right? There's a fence there. You better know why that fence is there before you try taking it down. Before you cremate your dead, before you put it in your will that you want to be cremated, you better understand why Christians have always buried their dead. But with that said, folks, thank you for coming along.
Can I say one thing before you sign out? I always mourn a celebrity death when it's someone that I believe that we should honor the people who made an impression on us in their lives, even if they weren't Christians. I don't know if this man is. I have no reason to believe that he was, but Bob Kavoyan from the Bob and Tom show died 2 days ago. And I don't know if you're familiar with who that was, but he was Bob and Tom was a radio show that was just huge where I was from. I grew up listening. They were out of Indiana, but they were just nationally syndicated depending on what kind of radio station you had. So I guess they would have different deals with different radio stations across the country. And Bob and Tom show was like the morning show. So, before memes existed, we would, whatever joke was on the radio in the morning on the drive to school, that was the joke of the day. And Bob and Tom was essentially like my childhood, was like listening to these idiots. It was a comedy show, like that's what it was, but it was actually a good one, unlike a lot of the ones on the radio today. So Bob Kavoyan, he died. He was like 70 something. I didn't get the exact age, but he died a couple days ago. I just wanted to, he it's interesting because like when we decided to do this podcast, like he was one of the people that I thought of as kind of an inspiration when I do this, even though, this isn't the kind of show that Bob and Tom is. But it's just one of those things. Like he died and I was like, dang, man, like it just popped up all over social media and at least in my social media. And just wanted to give a shout out to him. Hope he is in the good place. I have no idea if he is or not. But yeah, Bob Kavoyan, miss you.
There you go. Yeah, it's good to remember people that have had an influence on you. I mean, I know I've got people in my life who were definitely not Christian, some of them, and yet they still had a very positive influence on my life. I had a boss when I was in high school. I worked part-time at two different ranches, actually. I worked at a horse ranch and a cattle ranch, just part-time. When you're in high school, you can't do it full-time. And the horse ranch that I worked at, the cattle ranch, I didn't do anything on the cattle side. I was just more or less the go-getter for the boss man. And I would run and grab things. I'd go and fix things. I'd work on equipment and measure things and put things in place. And he was a very interesting guy, just absolutely pagan. I mean, this guy did not have a Christian bone in his body, but he had a lot of common sense and he had a lot of kind of earthly wisdom. Like he was a very down to earth guy. And I learned a lot from him. One of the things that I learned from him turned out to be a very important piece of marriage advice that affected who I married. All right. That is the most important decision, the most important move you will make in your life. And when that happened, I mean, it was just a throwaway line that that he chucked my way, and it turned into a guiding light for me. The advice he gave me was kind of a little bit crass, but he said, if you want to know what your wife is going to look like in 20 years, look at the girl's mom, right? And if she's ugly and unpleasant, that's what your wife's going to be like in 20 years. And that was good advice. When I was looking for a wife, there were a couple of really absolutely wonderful girls that I was like, man, she's just great. She's pretty. She's nice. She's all this, but her mom's just an absolute cow. And, as difficult as it was, I passed on that option. And here it is. I've been married for 10 years now, and I couldn't be happier because the woman that I'm married to has turned out a lot like her mom. And my mother-in-law is an absolute saint. And I know a lot of guys out there who can't say that, but the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So anyhow, remember the people who have influenced you positively, Christian or not. You should be remembering them, and you should honor that memory. But with that said, folks, after this, if you are in the Father group chat, you know where to find it. If you are not, and you would like to be, go to buymeacoffee.com, Stroke for Future Generations, link in the description. We appreciate you. But with that said, folks, it's late. Go to bed, because tomorrow is a day that God has prepared good works for you to do. And you need some rest so that you can do them. But it's going to be a big week. Going to get a lot of stuff done. You're going to kill it. You know you are. I know you are. I have confidence in you. You're going to do great. But with that said, thank you for being here. We will see you next week, and farewell.